Hey everybody, welcome to the COMM 295 final exam crash course. Um, so the final exam has only adds only 4 chapters to the course, but it is totally cumulative. And so it's going to be important for you to also make sure you're watching and reviewing the midterm chapters, which are also included in this crash course. Okay, so we are going to get started on chapter 12, which is all about game theory. And now this is something you would have seen in your intro to micro class when you did oligopolies. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that here. We'll go deeper into game theory, but most of the time it's pretty straightforward. Can you identify what the dominant strategies are? Can you identify what the Nash equilibrium or equilibria are if there's more than one? And so if you get that kind of process down, you should be totally fine with these questions. So what are dominant strategies? Dominant strategies basically refers to when a player in a game has a strategy that they would employ regardless of what the other one does. Right? So if we look at, we'll look at this table in a second, that's all it means. And then a prisoner's dilemma, this is a term that you'll see, and I've seen it come up on exams as well, so make sure you understand it. This just refers to a game where each player has a dominant strategy, but if they both choose their dominant strategy, it will lead to an outcome that is not the best outcome. And so you'll see it here. The reason it's called a prisoner's dilemma is because it's sort of based on two people that committed a crime. They got arrested. They were interrogated at the same time, but separately, and asked to confess or not. And you can see here that the outcomes will depend on not only what they do, but also what the other person does. So if you look at this game here, you've got John and you've got Carla. Carla is in pink, John is in blue. The numbers you see in here are their prison sentences. So a lower number is better, right? And a higher number is worse. So the first thing is, let's make sure we understand the process of choosing or figuring out if we have a dominant strategy. In order to figure out if you have a dominant strategy, you want to, there's a couple of ways you can do it, but I highly suggest some visual ways. So for instance, you could do this. For John, if he confesses, right, what should Carla do? If John confesses, Carla can either confess as well, she would get 10 years in prison, or she could stay quiet and she would get 20 years in prison. So she is better off confessing. If John confesses, she should also confess. If he stays quiet, what should she do? So she can either confess, right? And she would get a prison sentence of 0, or she could stay quiet and get 1 year. So she's better off confessing, right? 0 is better than 1. And so you see how Carla, in either case, is better off confessing. That is called a dominant strategy, which means Carla will confess for sure. She's better off confessing whether he confesses or not. That's one way to do it. Another way is by using a decision tree. So we'll go this way for John. So we're trying to figure out John's decision, right? So if Carla confesses, right, he could either confess as well, and if he does confess, he would get 10 years in jail, right? It'd be here. Or he could stay quiet and he would get 0. And he would get, no, if she confesses and he stays quiet, he would get 20. So, of course, he would choose to confess. If she stays quiet, he can confess. So that means Carla stay quiet, John confess. He would get 0. Or he can stay quiet and get 1, right? That would be here. So, of course, he's also better off confessing. So John's dominant strategy is also to confess. So here, each person's dominant strategy is to confess. Is it always the case where they have the same one? No, depends on the numbers. And so that is how you find the dominant strategy. And we'll do a few more of these as we go. So what is the likely outcome? Well, the likely outcome is that they're both going to confess. And so confess is the likely outcome. So they're going to get 10 years in prison each. So why is this a prisoner's dilemma? Well, remember the definition of a prisoner's dilemma was that when each person employs their own dominant strategy, so when each person looks out for just themselves, the outcome is inferior to some other outcome. Like if they both act on their best interests, it doesn't produce the most favorable outcome. Why? Well, the most favorable outcome would have been for them both to stay quiet and for them to each get 1 year. Right? But we couldn't get there because of the dominant strategies. So, a little bit of theory now. Best response. This we sort of saw right before the midterm, where you have a dominant strategy sometimes, but sometimes you don't have a dominant strategy. Where depending on what the other person, what one person does, the other person should do something different, and that's the best response, right? How should I react to a decision made by the other player? Cooperative and uncooperative outcomes. A cooperative outcome is the outcome that maximizes the joint profit of the two players. It's not the outcome that maximizes their individual profits, right? And so if I were to show you an example like that, right? So here we have a profit matrix, firm A, firm B. I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but it shows you all the different possibilities. So one advertises, the other one doesn't, and so on. The cooperative outcome is this one here, because it maximizes the joint profits. That, right? If you add the two profits together, it's 6. But it's not necessarily going to be the best outcome, but we'll get to this question, okay? All the other ones are non-cooperative outcomes. Okay. A Nash equilibrium, this is another one that comes up a lot, and I think we sort of talked about it right before when we were doing the oligopolies before the midterm. But what a Nash equilibrium is just a state, right, that neither player can or should deviate from. Meaning, as long as one player doesn't change their decision of what to do, the other player cannot profit more by changing their decision. Okay. And so it's a little bit hard to visualize without some numbers, but let me show you an example. Okay. Let's say, and I don't want to burn one of our exercises, that's why I'm making a new one. Okay. There's me and there's you, and I could choose to cooperate or on our agreement, or I can choose to cheat. You can choose to cooperate, or you can choose to cheat. If we both cooperate, we both make $5. If you cooperate and I cheat, you make $3 and I make $7. If you cheat and I cooperate, you make $7, I make $3. And if we both cheat, then each of us only makes $2. So let's say that we decide that right here, we're both going to cooperate. Is this a Nash equilibrium? It's not, because if I could increase my profit from 5 to 7, even if you don't change what you're doing, right? Because if you continue cooperating and I decide to cheat, now I increased my profit. So a Nash equilibrium is by definition a situation where neither party can increase their profits by changing their decision only, like a unilateral change in their own decision. So that would be, for example, if we were, if I change my numbers here and I make this one, 8 and 8. So if we decided that we're both cheating, this would be a Nash equilibrium. Why? You cannot increase your profits by changing your decision, and neither can I. Right? Like if you decided that you were going to cooperate, then your profits would go down. If I decided that I was going to cooperate, my profits would go down. And so this is what a Nash equilibrium is. You can have one, But it's also possible to have many Nash equilibria in the same problem, right? It really all depends on your numbers. Okay, now what is a pure strategy versus a mixed strategy? A pure strategy is when we choose one, like all the examples I've done so far and all the examples you'll probably see on the exam are pure strategies where a player chooses just one action. So if, like here, the example I gave is if we play rock, paper, scissors, I'm always going to choose rock. Or if I'm deciding whether I'm going to cheat or cooperate, I'm always going to cooperate, or I'm always going to cheat. A mixed strategy is when you assign probabilities to each outcome, and so you don't always do the same thing, right? So the player does not pick the same action every single time. It really depends. So here's an example of the rock, paper, scissors game where 1/3 of the time I'll pick rock, 1/3 of the time I'll pick paper, and 1/3 of the time I'll pick scissors. And when you play rock, paper, scissors, it's really a mixed strategy because you're not always picking the same thing, right? It really depends. Other examples here. A goalie in a penalty, stopping a penalty shot. Sometimes it'll go right, sometimes it'll go left. It wouldn't make sense in that context to always go one way. So context really dictates whether it's going to be a mixed strategy or a pure strategy. But on your exams, it's pretty much always a pure strategy. Okay. So if we go to this example that we sort of started talking about before, here it's two firms that compete by advertising. Given the profit matrix of the advertising game, identify each firm's best response to the rival's possible action. So does either firm have a dominant strategy? Figure that out first. And what is the Nash equilibrium? I want you guys to pause the video and try to answer A on your own. So I'm going to start with A. Does A have a dominant strategy? So what I'll do is I'll check. Well, if firm B decides that they're not going to advertise, firm A is better off advertising because 4 is better than 2. If firm B decides that they are going to advertise, well, firm A is still better off advertising because 3 is better than 0. So I know that firm A's dominant strategy is to advertise. They will advertise no matter what. Right? Whether firm B does or not, then that's still their best choice. And then we'll flip it around. What about firm B? So if firm A decides to not advertise, firm B is better off not advertising because 1 is better than 0, right? If they don't advertise, they get 1. If they do advertise, they make 0. If firm A does advertise, so I'm going to just kind of surround that. Firm B is better off not advertising because 2 is better than 1. And so you see firm B in this case has a dominant strategy as well, but it's not the same one. So their dominant strategy is to not advertise. And so what's going to happen is firm A will advertise, firm B will not advertise. So that will be here. This is the outcome. Now, is it a Nash equilibrium? Well, ask yourself, can either one of them make a higher profit by deviating from this intersection? No, look. Firm A, if firm B doesn't change, right? And that's the whole point. If firm B continues to not advertise, firm A cannot earn a higher profit by changing their decision. If they change their decision, they make a lower profit. Same thing with firm B. As long as firm A is choosing to advertise, firm B cannot earn a higher profit if they change their decision, because if they did, they would have a lower profit. So this is a Nash equilibrium, and it's the only one. Okay, so when each player has a dominant strategy, then basically the